Hey everybody, welcome to another Good Vibes Gaming discussion. I am Brandon, joined once again by John Cartwright.
That's me.
And art director for GVG, Daniel Alba.
Hello, how's it going?
And we're here to talk about the second episode of Pokémon Aim to be a Pokemon Master. It's got a long name. This is the 11-episode miniseries featuring Ash and Pikachu as they wind down on their 20-plus year-long journey. We spoke last week about the first episode featuring Latias and Team Rocket, and we're here with the second episode, which features Misty!
Misty!
She's back?
She's back!
She is back, and she is actually hilarious.
Yeah.
Funnier than she's ever been, if you ask me. I guess to start out, Ash and Pikachu arrive at the sea, and they encounter a Clauncher, which Ash's Corphish has I don't want to say a bromance with, but I guess it's just a bromance, because they both have big claws, and they have been infatuated with one another over that.
I love how I sort of think about the names, because when it's subbed in Japanese, they give you the Japanese names. You have to sort of translate what the Pokemon is in your head. But yeah, they say at some point that they're just sort of good friends. I think these crabs might be more than that.
They showed hearts and lovey-dovey signs, so
they're more than friends.
There might be some crab babies here in the future. Ash has a little bit of an encounter with Clauncher before being captured, I guess you could say, by Misty. She casts her rod out into the water, and she catches Ash's arm, which is a reference to how they first met in the first episode of Pokemon, where she fishes him out of the water while being chased by the Spearow. And I thought that was a pretty neat callback and a great way to start this re-encounter between Ash and Misty.
Yeah, I love the reveal too, because they don't show Misty first, they show her lore on her fishing rod, and then it sort of pans out to Misty. And yeah, it's so cool to see them back together again. I mean, they've bumped into each other a couple of times since departing over Pokemon, but it's never quite been this intimate. And there's a few aspects of this series so far that feel like it's going back to its roots. Like, there's a lot more comical, like physical comedy with Pikachu going on. Like right at the start, Pikachu's fishing with his tail, almost like a slowpoke, and then he gets bitten by the crab. And it is so cool to get that kind of stuff again, because that's something that Series 1 was full of. And now we're back with both that and Ash and Misty again. And as you say, she's hilarious. She's great in this episode.
Yeah, we see Misty just kind of a lot of silly antics with them and the Pokemon, and of which the Pokemon, Ash's team is going to be switching out every single episode, it looks like, because now we saw Totodile, Rowlet, Leaveney.
Did you say Totodile?
Corphish, of course.
That's
I forgot about Corphish. I was like, wait a minute.
Totodile twice.
I love Totodile. Ever since the Johto series, it's always been very jumpy, energetic, and just happy all the time. And it's always been, and it keeps. They all retain their personalities here as they did in the series. And then you got Corphish is just a tryhard as always, as we see with the rivalry with Clauncher. But yeah, it's just cool to see all these Pokemon returning. Even Psyduck. Poor Psyduck. When God. Pikachu and Psyduck meet eyes, you see Psyduck just reaching out and saying, "Brother, hug me, brother!" And then Pikachu just jumps over and hugs Misty instead, and then you just see the deflation in his eyes. You don't really, he never really expresses, but you can feel the pain in his heart.
Yeah, that's kind of the
poor
thing.
Psyduck.
A lot of these Pokemon don't really get a spotlight. Like, they get like little behind the scenes. Like, you see them in the background a lot. Like Rowlet just kind of sleeps a lot. There's nothing really character-wise that they do. And I kind of like that they're not spending time focusing on every Pokemon, but the previous episode had, they kind of all had a time in the sun. Whereas this one, not so much. But it works in the story's favor more, though, I think.
It's nice to spend some time on a specific Pokemon, especially Corphish. I don't know if Corphish is especially a fan favorite amongst fans, but I always had fond memories of Corphish, and getting to express his personality, his kind of fighting spirit, and let that be the driver for the episode, I think was a good call. But, oh my god, I laughed real hard at the Psyduck gag. This poor man just wanted to say hi to his friend and just gets ignored. But if I saw Misty and Psyduck too, and I hadn't seen them in a long time, I'm sorry, Psyduck, I'd probably say hi to Misty first.
Yeah.
But Pikachu, he's kind of a rascal because he never goes back to say hi to Psyduck at all.
just
the history.
don't worry,
totally
Psyduck will forget anyways.
Yeah.
He may have a blank stare, but there's real emotion behind that.
There's some real power behind those eyes. He better watch out.
Oh, by the way, the expressions in this episode are fantastic as well. There's just moments where but when Ash and Misty both fall in the water and they do that sort of like three faces, they spit water out, and then there's like these little gags where Misty has this. I don't even know how to describe it. Like one of her facial expressions is just. It feels very meme worthy. I think that's going to be a meme in a few years' time.
That Mimi glare that she gives him. Yeah, there's been so many different really fun moments during this series, both in like just the characters and also musically. They brought back actual tracks from the Indigo League at least a few times during this, and I was like, whoa, and it just really brought back some moments, especially when they went fishing to do their little fishing competition. You heard like the little, I don't even know what to call the song, but it's when the really funny antics start happening, and then as they're waiting for the fish, it just kind of goes and just slows all the way down, because it's just a lot of fun stuff they do with this.
So for context, Ash and Misty are basically fighting over Clauncher. Ash wants to battle Clauncher because his Corphish does, and Misty wants Clauncher because she loves water Pokemon. And she has a lot of funny moments where she is fawning over Clauncher, just like she would with any water Pokemon back in the Indigo League. So they have a fishing competition. They both miserably fail, and it's a very funny moment. We get the meme shot of Misty's face. And I think it's after that, remind me if I'm wrong, that we see Team Rocket.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah,
Mainly
they're on the brink
uncomfortable.
of death right now.
They talk about wanting to eat the Clauncher, as in they want to eat its claw. And it always weirds me out when people talk about eating Pokemon.
But
They
it's
don't
okay.
do that very often.
It's okay. It's gonna grow back, they say. Or at least that's what the Pokedex says, so it's okay.
There had to be that little nugget, that little disclaimer that no, Clauncher will not die, and his claw will come back. I can't remember who it was. It may have been Meowth. I have a vivid memory of someone biting a Magikarp and having their teeth broken.
Oh yeah, the moment of tooth? That's what happened.
Okay, that's right.
Because they're just basically like mostly bones, so they're not really edible.
We talked about how the previous episode felt like a very classic episode of Pokemon, and I feel that way doubly so with this one. Because oftentimes our introduction to Team Rocket in an episode, especially in Season 1, is that they are starving because they have no money and no food. I don't think you saw that a lot during Journeys, so to see that happen here, it felt very, very appropriate. And it's funny as well for them to capture a Pokemon not to give it to Giovanni, but because they want to eat.
They just want to eat it.
I'm sure someone in the comments can clarify this, but is this the same writing team as Journeys, or did they bring back some from the original series? Because it feels different.
There's a different tone for sure.
Definitely has a different vibe. And I loved Journeys, but this is reminding me of my childhood way more than that series did. Even like the characterization of Misty feels spot on to me. Like they've brought her back a few times in the past. I didn't see the episodes of her in the Alola region, but I did see the ones of her in the Hoenn region. And she was still scared of bugs and whatnot, but she wasn't nearly as expressive or I don't know, snarky towards Ash as she is here. And this is what I want from that character relationship.
Yeah. And it's cool seeing Team Rocket. They don't really get to see Misty much, but they call her, was it the original girl brat? It's just
the original brat girl.
That's it, yeah. That's cool
The original.
There's a few tropes we don't see. Like we don't see the bug fear in this episode, but that's not the focus. But you're right, there's just this sort of chemistry between Ash and Misty, and that's the entire focus. It's basically an Ash and Misty episode the entire time. And it's just comfortable to see them back together again.
I loved that interaction where they pull out the fishing rods and she shows off her classic fishing lure, and then Ash shows his, and it was silence.
That's right.
I think.
Yeah, it was silent.
And she was just so mad that he didn't use the one that she gave him, and And she's like, why didn't you use mine? And he says, this one's better at catching fish.
Yeah.
So mean. But the interaction with Team Rocket doesn't last very long. They capture Clauncher, and Corfish comes to save the day. And that's pretty much the end of Team Rocket. They're gone as quickly as they showed up. But that's so that we can get back to the action with Ash and Misty, who decide that they're going to have a Pokemon battle to determine who gets Clauncher.
Mm-hmm. And Pikachu waltzes on out, assuming that he'll be the natural choice, considering he's a Thunder type, but no, that's not how it goes.
I love that.
Yeah.
He wanted to go for a water versus water type for this one. Or rather, Corfish wanted to to be the one to impress his brother in rivalry, so they can compare claws with each other.
It's so funny, because like the fans and then other characters in the show will constantly talk about Ash not utilizing Pokemon type advantage. So it's funny for Pikachu to even be surprised that he's not picked.
I mean, Ash is the Pokemon champion now, so I guess just putting Pikachu out there, who is, you know, the most powerful Pokemon in the world now, I guess, wouldn't be fair, especially as a type advantage. But it's still cool seeing Ash like just down to earth still. Like he's not just going all out. It's there is like a friendliness to this battle, even if it does go quite intense at times. It's nice to see that.
Yeah, the battle goes hard. I love how you see Misty's Pokemon, Politoed, who we also haven't seen in a while. I love when they use moves like Focus Blast. It just looks like they're charging up a Hadouken or something. It looks so intense. It was an intense battle too. Like, it was some really good animation being done with this, like with the water effects and such.
Yeah, it's a good battle. We've seen Ash and Misty battle quite a few times in the past. I can't remember their record. I should have looked at that before coming to this. But somewhat surprisingly, Ash does not win.
No.
Politoed is victorious, and Misty is the winner. And Ash's Pokemon seem pretty down about it, but Ash doesn't, and I really like that about this. Like, you know, he hasn't battled with Corfish in a long time, so I don't think it is necessarily surprising that he wouldn't win a battle with a Pokemon he hasn't battled with. With that much time in between. So I thought that was kind of neat. Like, Ash might be the champion of the whole world, but that doesn't mean he's going to win every battle he ever has.
Yeah, and let's face it too, Misty kind of deserves a new Pokemon. Ash is, he's rotated his roster around a bit. Misty's stuck with the same Pokemon she's had since Alola, so yeah, she deserves the new one.
She walks up to Clauncher and is like, all right, Clauncher, I won, so I get to catch you, and Clauncher just nods.
Yeah.
And then she catches him, and as soon as he gets in the Pokeball, he gets back out again.
They just go straight over to Ash, yeah.
They just started doing training. They all start training together right there.
I love Misty just kind of looking on from a distance. One, upset that Clauncher has left her immediately, but just the same kind of confusion she would have at Ash for the way he is. Because not only are the Pokemon training, but, you know, so, Ash is too.
Yeah. You know, we joked about Latias stalking Ash throughout the series, and it's not really a joke, because right at the end you see the silhouette of Latias just following them through the sky. So there's definitely some sinister backplot going on there.
I'm glad that first episode wasn't just like an isolated incident. Like, that was clearly there to set something up, because Latias is not going away if this episode is any indication.
Yeah, and speaking of setting up, we have, at the very end of the episode, we have Ash is on his way with Pikachu, but then Misty kind of catches up and says, hey, we're gonna travel again. And Ash was like, nah, I don't think so. And Pikachu's like, yeah, we're gonna bring Misty with us. And she's gonna be with us for the rest of the series now. As we've seen in the preview for the next episode, we're gonna, as you may expect, pick up Brock as well. And that looks like a fun one, because there's more than just Brock's gonna show up in that episode too.
Yeah, we're also getting Silent, so it's a 2 for 1.
Glimpse at in the lore, but he's here for real, in person, in the flesh.
He's not just a fishing rod lure.
He can be more than that. Yeah.
Misty does not tell Ash why she is following him. There is a slight implication why she may be following him.
Are you trying to ship them, Brandon?
I'm thinking there's some poke shipping happening here.
There was something happening there, maybe. There's gonna be some kind of resolution of Ash's shipping that will perhaps finally conclude and silence the Pokemon fans around the world. Who knows?
I just thought Misty was being weirdly aggressive.
Yeah, maybe it's finally time. Maybe it's finally time. That's why Ash stopped. He settles down, has a family. Maybe that's it.
That was what happened, yeah.
Maybe.
Who knows? I'm curious to see now I'm curious to see how a lot of these little arcs tie up in this miniseries.
I was a little unsure if Misty was going to travel with Ash or if it would just be like every episode he hangs out with a different past partner. But it's nice to see that they're going to be traveling together. I assume the same will be true of Brock in the next episode, and we'll have that trio episode after episode running into other of Ash's companions across the series.
Yeah. I mean, Daniel said earlier that Misty's here for the remaining. Is that confirmed? Or is she just here for a few episodes?
Well, as far as I've seen, I guess people have assumed after they see Ash, Misty, and Brock, or like the cover, like the main poster characters for this series, that they're going to be around for the entirety of it.
Yeah.
And it only just makes sense because they're the original three, and they go so far as to like have the original intro music playing for this as well. So I guess all these little callbacks were just like, oh yeah, they're gonna just kind of send off the way they started in their own similar ways, and it's cool to see that it's just beyond characters. It's just like the flow and style of writing of the episode. It's just the scenarios. They're really calling back to what we were growing up with back in the day, and it's really nice to see.
It's important to note too that, Ash may have had a goal of being a Pokemon master, but all of his companions had their own individual goals that they wanted to achieve. And it'd be kind of nice if we got to see some of them reach those over the course of these 11 episodes. I don't think it'll happen for everybody, but I'd like to see Brock, finally fulfill his role as a professional Pokemon breeder. Tracy being a Pokemon watcher, whatever that means. And then, May, Dawn, and Serena, we've seen them doing contests at a high level kind of sporadically throughout journeys, but I want to see someone be the best, like no one ever was.
I think Ronald from Pokemon Trading Card Game will be the final episode, and he'll be the best.
Just show up.
Yeah, he just shows up.
Challenge into a
me,
duel.
It's Ronald. I go, oh snap, it's Ronald!
Classic Pokemon anime character Ronald.
Wouldn't it be crazy if like this whole world of Pokemon that they're watching, it's just in the universe, just a television show. So we zoom out from the TV and then there's some kids playing the Pokemon trading card game on the side, and you see Ronald there. I would lose my mind.
Oh my god, they could do that. There's been fan theories about how the series will end, with Ash in some kind of Pokemon battle with Gengar versus a Nidoran. They could essentially do what you just said and end the series by having another trainer who's about to start their journey watching Ash do the exact same battle that he watched on TV.
That'd be cool.
And then the cycle continues forever.
You can't break it. We're doomed.
But we do have to break this episode.
Oh no.
Well, unless Daniel's got something to say.
That's just what the new protagonist for the new series is watching. It's just watching Ash's series, and then that's how that begins. But it's in the Paldea region now. But yeah. But yeah, that. And speaking of Paldea, we did see another little snippet at the end of the episode, like very, very end, with Team Rocket. Now with Miraidon instead of Koraidon. So I guess it's just we're gonna see probably a little bit of Paldea at the very end of each of these episodes. So
They're gonna ease all the children into the Paldea region over the next few weeks. But that brings us to the end of episode 2 of Aim to Be a Pokemon Master. We'll be back next week with episode 3 featuring Brock and Silent. And we'll continue to have cozy vibes with Ash and Pikachu until they finally say goodbye sometime in April.
I'm not ready.
So make sure to follow us here on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Like the video. Comment what your favorite moment in today's episode was. And we also have a Patreon.
Yeah, we do. And you can, if you want to, you can support us on Patreon. We give you a bunch of perks, early videos. You can vote on things like what's that track or what we're going to talk about in the GVG cast. And you can get access to early videos. Daniel's holding something up. What, Daniel? What's that?
we're also on Twitch at Good Vibes Arcade, official GVG. visualgvg.twitch.com. Oh, was that how that goes? To visualgvg.twitch.com. I don't even know.
You tried the
Can't even advertise myself.
Close enough.
It's okay. We both screwed up our Twitch channels at some point or another. It's fine.
All right, y'all. We'll see you next week with the episode 3 of Aim to be a Pokemon Master. Until then, keep the vibes good. No, what do I say? Keep the games good and the vibes greater. Bye, y'all.
Till we meet again.